On January 28, 2025, President Donald Trump made headlines by urging SpaceX to expedite the return of NASA astronauts Suni, Williams and Butch Wilmore from the International Space Station ISS. His statement claiming the astronauts had been virtually abandoned by the Biden administration created significant confusion regarding the astronauts' status and the timeline for their departure. Background: Suni, Williams and Butch Wilmore launched to the ISS in June 2025 aboard Boeing's CST-100 Starliner as part of a mission originally intended for a shorter duration. However, due to technical issues with the Starliner's thrusters, NASA decided to postpone their return. Subsequently, in August 2025, NASA announced that the Starliner would return to Earth without a crew, leaving Williams and Wilmore aboard the ISS for an extended stay. Timeline of events leading up to Trump's statement. June 2025, Williams and Wilmore launched to the ISS on the CST-100 Starliner. August 2025, NASA opts to return the Starliner without a crew due to thruster issues, leaving the astronauts on the ISS. December 2025, NASA announces a delay in the Crew 10 mission which impacts the return schedule for Crew 9 including Williams and Wilmore. January 28, 2025, Trump publicly requests SpaceX to bring back the astronauts despite plans already in place for their return. Trump's urgent request. In a social media post on January 28, Trump stated that he had directed SpaceX CEO Elon Musk to ensure the immediate return of the astronauts, implying they had been abandoned during their prolonged stay on the ISS. Musk responded on his platform, confirming that SpaceX was already scheduled to return Williams and Wilmore in approximately 2 months around early April 2025. This announcement led to widespread confusion among space industry observers as there had been no formal communication from NASA regarding an urgent evacuation plan. NASA's position. In contrast to Trump's claims, NASA maintained that the situation did not constitute stranding. The agency asserted that Williams and Wilmore had the capability to return to Earth in an emergency at any time, either on their original Starliner or on a Crew Dragon spacecraft. NASA emphasized that the astronauts had welcomed the opportunity to remain aboard the ISS, and both expressed satisfaction with their extended mission. Former NASA Administrator Bill Nelson also stated that political considerations did not influence the decision to keep the astronauts on the ISS longer than initially planned. He affirmed that the decision was made based on technical assessments and safety considerations, not political pressure. Criticism of the Biden administration. Both Trump and Musk criticized the Biden administration for the perceived neglect of the astronauts' situation, suggesting that the extended stay was a failure of the current administration. However, NASA officials clarified that the extended mission was a professional choice made for operational reasons, and the astronauts had been actively engaged in scientific work and research during their time aboard the ISS. Ongoing communication gap. As of January 29, 2025, NASA had not released any statements to clarify the situation following Trump's comments, leading to continued speculation and confusion within the space community. The discrepancy between the narratives presented by Trump and Musk and NASA's official position highlighted significant communication gaps and raised questions regarding the management of astronauts on extended missions. Conclusion. In summary, while SpaceX was indeed on standby for the planned return of astronauts Williams and Wilmore, the statements made by Trump and Musk led to misunderstandings regarding the astronauts' status and the nature of their extended stay on the ISS. NASA affirmed its commitment to ensuring the safety and well-being of its astronauts while also pushing back against claims that they had been stranded or abandoned. This incident underscores the complexities involved in space missions and the importance of clear communication among all stakeholders involved. In the recent situation involving NASA astronauts Suni, Williams and Butch Wilmore aboard the International Space Station ISS, counterintuitive elements arise, particularly from the statements made by political figures and the actual operational status of the astronauts. 1. Perception of stranding. President Trump labeled the astronauts as virtually abandoned by the Biden administration, which contradicts NASA's position that they are not stranded and can return at any time in an emergency. This discrepancy highlights a counterintuitive communication gap where the administration's narrative suggests negligence while NASA emphasizes the astronauts' professional commitment to their extended mission. 2. Misunderstanding of mission status. The confusion stems from Trump's and Musk's assertions regarding the urgency of the astronauts' return. Despite claims of abandonment, SpaceX was already scheduled to return Williams and Wilmore in approximately 2 months with no immediate plans for an expedited return. This suggests that the urgency communicated by Trump was unnecessary as NASA had already laid out a clear return timeline, further complicating the narrative presented to the public. 3. Political influence claims. The former NASA administrator Bill Nelson stated that politics did not influence the decision to keep Williams and Wilmore aboard the ISS longer than planned. This contradicts Trump's insinuation that the Biden administration had a role in the astronauts' extended stay. The implication that political motives are at play is counterintuitive to established operational protocols within NASA, which are typically driven by safety and mission objectives rather than political agendas. For astronaut satisfaction, both astronauts expressed contentment with their extended stay, which contrasts with the notion of being stranded. Williams and Wilmore remarked on their professional approach to the situation, indicating that they were engaged and active aboard the ISS. This counterintuitive perspective undermines the narrative of abandonment, suggesting that the astronauts themselves did not view their situation as problematic. 5. Communication from NASA. The lack of immediate clarification from NASA in response to Trump's statements further fueled confusion. NASA's decision to remain silent while political figures made bold claims about the astronauts' status demonstrates a counterintuitive approach to crisis communication where clarity could have mitigated the misinformation circulating in the media and among the public. 6. Operational readiness and protocols. NASA's assertion that they could use other spacecraft, including the Crew Dragon, for an emergency return contrasts sharply with the framing of the situation as dire or urgent. This highlights a counterintuitive aspect of space operations where multiple contingencies exist, yet political narratives may suggest a singular desperate urgency that is not reflective of the actual situation. In summary, the counterintuitive elements in this scenario revolve around the dissonance between political rhetoric and NASA's operational reality, the astronauts' satisfaction with their mission duration, and the communication strategies employed by involved parties. The situation illustrates how perceptions can diverge significantly from the facts on the ground, particularly in the realm of space exploration where technical and operational considerations often outweigh political narratives. In the recent report detailing President Trump's request for SpaceX to expedite the return of NASA astronauts Suni, Williams and Butch Wilmore from the International Space Station ISS, several critical aspects are often overlooked that bear significant implications for the future of space missions, public perception, and the interplay between politics and space exploration. Miscommunication and public perception. One of the most significant elements that many may gloss over is the stark communication gap between Trump, Musk, and NASA. Trump's assertions that the astronauts were virtually abandoned have created a narrative that could mislead the public about the realities of space missions. This miscommunication can undermine public trust in NASA and the agencies involved in space exploration. The astronauts have expressed no desire for an immediate return, and NASA has clarified that they are not in a state of abandonment but rather are engaged in a professional decision to extend their stay for operational reasons. This gap is significant because it shapes public perception and can influence future funding and support for space programs. If the public views NASA's operations as politically influenced or mismanaged due to misstatements from political figures, it could jeopardize the agency's credibility and the continued support necessary for ambitious future missions, including those aimed at Mars or the Moon. The role of politics in space operations. Another critical aspect is the political narrative surrounding the astronauts' extended stay. Trump's remarks about abandonment suggest a politically charged interpretation of an operational decision that NASA officials have stated was made based on technical and safety considerations rather than political motivations. The former NASA administrator Bill Nelson's insistence that politics did not play a role is essential in understanding the operational independence of NASA, but this is often overshadowed by sensational political rhetoric. The significance of this narrative is profound. It poses questions about how political discourse can shape public understanding of scientific and technical operations. If political figures can influence the perception of space missions, it could lead to pressure on NASA that might not align with best practices in space exploration. It raises concerns about whether operational decisions could be influenced by political agendas rather than scientific or safety considerations. Technical challenges and their implications. The report also highlights the technical challenges that NASA faced with the Boeing Starliner and the Crew Dragon missions. Although this is noted, the implications of these technical issues are critical to understanding the dynamics of current space exploration. The delay in the Crew 10 mission due to technical problems demonstrates the challenges of relying on commercial partners for crewed space missions. This situation emphasizes the importance of robust technical solutions and the need for contingency planning in human spaceflight. The report suggests that the astronauts' extended stay was not merely a logistical oversight but rather a calculated decision influenced by the technical readiness of the spacecraft. This highlights the importance of rigorous testing and validation processes in commercial spaceflight, which, if not adequately addressed, could pose risks to future missions and crew safety. Astronauts' perspectives. The personal experiences and sentiments of Williams and Wilmore are also an important yet often overlooked aspect of this report. The astronauts' acceptance of their extended stay offers insights into the psychological resilience required for space missions. Their remarks highlight a professional attitude focusing on the tasks at hand rather than the perception of being stranded. This perspective is significant because it reflects the training and mindset of astronauts who are expected to adapt to challenging and changing environments. Their ability to remain focused and positive in the face of extended missions is a testament to the psychological support systems in place for astronauts, which are vital for the success of long-duration spaceflight missions. The future of crew rotation missions. The confusion stemming from Trump's comments could also impact future crew rotation missions and the collaboration between NASA and commercial partners. If the public and political figures do not fully grasp the operational realities of crewed space missions, it could lead to increased scrutiny and potential changes in funding or policy that may not align with the needs of the space program. Moreover, the current scenario highlights the need for clear communication strategies from NASA and its partners to ensure that the public is accurately informed about mission statuses and the challenges faced. As commercial spaceflight becomes an increasingly vital part of human space exploration, the importance of maintaining clear and consistent messaging cannot be overstated. Conclusion. In summary, the report surrounding Trump's request for SpaceX to expedite the return of astronauts from the ISS encompasses several critical but often overlooked dimensions. The communication gap between political figures and NASA, the implications of political narratives on public perception, the technical challenges of current missions, the personal experiences of astronauts, and the future of crew rotation all play significant roles in shaping the landscape of space exploration. Understanding these factors is crucial for navigating the complexities of human spaceflight in an era of increasing commercial involvement and political scrutiny. 1. Miscommunication and public perception. The incident highlights a significant communication gap between political figures, private companies, and NASA, leading to public confusion regarding the status of astronauts Suni, Williams, and Butch Wilmore. President Trump's statements suggested urgency and abandonment, which contradicted NASA's assurances that the astronauts were never in a state of stranding. This discrepancy underscores the importance of clear and consistent communication in space missions, especially in politically charged environments. 2. Political influence in space missions. The contrasting narratives put forth by Trump, Musk, and NASA officials raise questions about the influence of political factors on space exploration decisions. Trump's comments imply a critique of the Biden administration's handling of astronaut missions, while NASA leadership has asserted that political considerations did not affect operational decisions. This situation invites a broader discussion on how governmental changes can impact the direction and management of space programs, potentially affecting public trust and investment in space exploration. 3. The role of commercial spaceflight. The involvement of SpaceX in the return of astronauts from the ISS illustrates the growing reliance on private companies for space operations. While SpaceX's role is pivotal, the confusion surrounding the timeline for Williams and Wilmore's return reveals the complexities of integrating commercial partners into governmental space missions. Analyzing the implications of this partnership, both operationally and politically, can provide insights into the future of space exploration, including the balance of responsibilities between public agencies and private enterprises. For astronaut well-being and mission planning, Williams and Wilmore expressed their contentment with their extended stay aboard the ISS, emphasizing their professional commitment and adaptability. This aspect of the narrative spotlights the psychological and emotional factors involved in long-duration space missions. Understanding astronaut well-being is essential for future mission planning, particularly as agencies aim for longer missions to destinations like Mars. Discussions could focus on how mission profiles accommodate crew needs while balancing technical and safety considerations, especially in light of unexpected delays or challenges. 1. Apollo 13 1970. The Apollo 13 mission is one of the most famous incidents in space exploration history, often referenced as a case of crisis management in space. On April 11, 1970, an oxygen tank in the service module exploded, leading to a life-threatening situation for the three astronauts aboard, Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hayes. The explosion forced the mission to be aborted, and the crew had to use the lunar module as a lifeboat to survive until they could return to Earth. NASA's ground control team worked tirelessly to devise a plan to bring the crew home safely, facing numerous technical challenges along the way. Despite the perilous situation, the mission concluded successfully with the safe splashdown of Apollo 13 on April 17, 1970. 2. Soyuz 11 1971. The Soyuz 11 mission is a significant and tragic case in the history of space travel. In June 1971, a crew of three cosmonauts, Georgy Dobrovolsky, Viktor Patsayev, and Vladislav Volkov, were sent to the Salyut 1 space station. After spending 23 days in space, they successfully returned to Earth on June 30, 1971. However, during re-entry, a cabin depressurization occurred, leading to the deaths of all three cosmonauts. This incident prompted significant changes in safety protocols for human spaceflight, highlighting the risks associated with prolonged missions in space and the importance of ensuring the safety of astronauts during both ascent and descent. 3. Skylab 3 1973–1974. Skylab 3 was the second crewed mission to the United States' first space station, Skylab. Launched on July 28, 1973, the crew, consisting of astronauts Alan Bean, Owen Garriott, and Jack Luzma, encountered challenges due to the station's unexpected overheating and other technical issues. The mission was initially planned for 28 days but was extended to 59 days. Which was a record at the time. The crew had to adapt to the heating issues and find solutions to maintain a safe environment aboard Skylab. Their successful adaptation and the various scientific experiments conducted during the extended stay provided valuable data for future long-duration missions in space. The recent situation involving NASA astronauts on the International Space Station ISS has highlighted the complexities of space operations and the interplay between politics, corporate interests, and public perception. As we look toward the future of space exploration and the roles that entities like SpaceX, NASA, and private companies will play, several predictions can be made. 1. Enhanced collaboration between NASA and private companies. The confusion arising from President Trump's comments and the subsequent responses from SpaceX and NASA showcases the need for clearer communication and collaboration. In the coming years, We can expect a more structured partnership model between NASA and private aerospace companies. This will involve established protocols for communication regarding mission timelines, astronaut safety, and public statements. Enhanced collaboration will facilitate smoother operations and potentially reduce the risk of misinformation. 2. Increased emphasis on astronaut safety and well-being. As human presence in space becomes more routine, the well-being of astronauts will take center stage. Future missions will likely incorporate more robust support systems for astronauts, including psychological support for long-duration missions. The extended stay of Williams and Wilmore on the ISS, while framed as a professional decision, has underscored the importance of addressing the mental and emotional needs of crew members. Enhanced training and preparation for emergency situations will also be prioritized. 3. Growth of commercial spaceflight. The landscape of space travel is expected to evolve significantly, with an emphasis on commercial missions. Companies like SpaceX and Axiom Space are paving the way for private astronaut missions and commercial space stations. The success of these ventures will lead to increased investment and participation from private entities in space exploration. The anticipated growth of commercial spaceflight will likely democratize access to space, allowing more individuals and organizations to participate in space missions. 4. Technological advancements in spacecraft. Technical issues such as those experienced with Boeing's CST-100 Starliner will spur innovation and improvements in spacecraft design and reliability. Future spacecraft will likely incorporate advanced technologies aimed at preventing malfunctions and ensuring timely returns for astronauts. The competitive nature of the aerospace industry will drive companies to invest in cutting-edge solutions, further enhancing the safety and efficiency of space missions. 5. Political considerations in space operations. The incident has highlighted how political narratives can influence public perception of space missions. As space exploration becomes increasingly intertwined with national pride and international competition, future missions may be affected by political agendas. This will necessitate a careful balance between political interests and scientific objectives. NASA and private companies will need to navigate this landscape thoughtfully to maintain public trust and ensure the continued progress of space exploration. 6. International collaboration in space exploration. As space exploration progresses, there will be a growing need for international collaboration. Issues like the management of astronauts and shared missions will likely require input from various nations and space agencies. Future missions may increasingly involve multinational crews and collaborative projects, fostering a spirit of cooperation that transcends borders. This could lead to the establishment of shared standards and protocols for astronaut missions and emergency situations. 7. Expanding the role of AI and automation. The integration of artificial intelligence and automation in space operations will likely become more pronounced. AI can assist in monitoring spacecraft systems, predicting potential issues, and optimizing mission planning. In the future, AI-driven systems may play a crucial role in ensuring astronaut safety, managing resources, and even conducting routine maintenance tasks aboard the ISS and other spacecraft. 8. Greater public engagement and education. The current incident underlines the importance of public engagement in space missions. As interest in space exploration grows, there will be a concerted effort to educate the public about the complexities of space missions, the roles of astronauts, and the challenges faced in space. Increased transparency and communication from space agencies and companies will foster a more informed public, which can lead to greater support for funding and participation in future missions. Conclusion. The recent developments surrounding the ISS astronauts serve as a reminder of the multifaceted nature of space exploration. As we project into the future, it is clear that we will witness a period of growth, innovation, and collaboration within the space industry. The lessons learned from this incident will help shape a future characterized by improved communication, enhanced astronaut well-being, and a more vibrant commercial spaceflight sector. Ultimately, the future of space exploration holds immense potential, driven by a combination of public interest, technological advancements, and international cooperation.